again, here's that building, the condo building, high-end condo building on Vine and Mercer. Or is this it? This is a shot where I think that building could fit in. In fact, if you look at that building on the right side, it almost looks like that building, doesn't it? Moving on. Who owns Over-the-Rhine? The green colored, if you can see those are city properties. Over-the-Rhine owns the ones that are in reddish. And Over-the-Rhine, and the blue ones are Over-the-Rhine, are 3 CDCs. The Over-the-Rhine Community Housing owns the reddish ones. Sorry, 3 minutes, really? You guys are going to get the shortened version. Sorry. Buckle up. 3 CDC's mission, here's the second opportunity for audience participation. Their mission is blah, 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 blah. I'll let you read it because you can read faster than I can talk. What's missing from that mission statement? Anybody? People. Thank you. Very good. You guys passed. They get kudos for what they have done so far, but their Mercer Commons project is not going to pass muster, I hope. This is a nonprofit, private nonprofit organization. To whom are they accountable? Is a really important point because the city is essentially out of the job, out of the business, but their board of directors is not made up of the city council. And Josh will speak more about jobs. Others have spoken about the issue of jobs in Over-the-Rhine for the people that live in Over-the-Rhine. Here's the census tracts. It's essentially 16, 17, 11, 10, and 9. I obviously am going to go over here, but you'll see that there's a lot of vacant buildings in there. I think that Todd Kinski said there's some 500 vacant housing units there. The population is predominantly black. It is, I believe, around 5,000. These numbers do not add up to 100%, by the way, on the population. Citizen engagement, who decides? I'll just summarize here because the federal government, in its enlightenment, has required citizen participation where federal dollars are being expended. And as recently as the 1974 Community Development and Housing Act, there was a requirement that wherever those dollars were to be spent, citizens must be involved. But my impression is that in the city of Cincinnati, there really is not authentic citizen engagement. And in particular, that's true of 3CDC. Now, 3CDC has taken their Mercer Commons plans around to all of the key organizations within the area, but they have not involved the citizenry. They have appeared at the district council and said, what do you think of these plans? That caused the city manager, Dehoney, to say at the planning commission meeting, as he encouraged them, he said there's a big difference between you taking your plans around to the organizations and the community and saying, what do you think of these plans, versus going there with a blank piece of paper and saying, let's create a vision together. Let's create a plan together. And at this point, I want to make a distinction. Planners typically do not have the authority to implement things. So don't focus all of your anger upon the planners, because it's really the decision makers, and in many cases, elected decision makers, that make the decisions. And I just added Metro Lab at the bottom there so I could keep prodding those guys. Finally, Arthur Fromer, the great traveler, said, he spoke fondly and he said, in all of America there is no more promising an urban area for revitalization than your own Over-the-Rhine. When I look at that remarkably untouched, expansive section of architecturally uniform structures, here's the key point, unmarred by clashing modern structures, I see in my mind the possibility for revitalization district that literally could rival similar prosperous and heavily visited areas. I thank you for your attention. I don't know how to shut this off.
Hello?
Hi, Josh.
Okay, so whenever I talk to a group, I normally like to do two things. One is get everybody to say their name. Normally, though, when it's a group this large or a little bigger, we skip that. So just as an exercise, if you could shout your name all together. 1, 2, 3. What's your name? Okay, thank you. I'm Josh. Second is a thank you, another thank you, because I think too often folks get in front of other folks and it's expected that you have to listen, you should listen, all of those things, but I thank you for being here and hope you listen. So again, I do not believe that you have to be here. How many folks were here? I was only here this morning for the 9 a.m. panel. How many of us were here for the 9 a.m. panel? Okay, good. A good chunk of the room. So I want to kind of just bring some of these issues down to what I would call street level. First, I should tell you a little bit about what the Greater Cincinnati Coalition for the Homeless is. I'm the executive director of the Greater Cincinnati Coalition for the Homeless. We've been around since 1984. Nearly every homeless coalition in this entire country started in the early 80s. And it's because when the Reagan administration decided that supply-side economics was the way to go, that trickle-down theory would work, they were wrong. Trickle-down theory didn't work, and homelessness skyrocketed in the 80s, such that the existing organizations like your Salvation Armies and your City Gospel Missions that have been serving the stereotypical male that was addicted to something for 100 years before were no longer enough. And so lots of other organizations came on base, affordable housing groups and so forth, and coalitions were formed to say, hey, we've got a system that is creating homelessness and we need to attack it from the top down. And so that's what we've been doing since 1984. We are a part of the Over-the-Rhine People's Movement. If you remember names like Buddy Gray, that is where we come from, and that is where we are strongly rooted now. So, the primary cause of homelessness in this country is a lack of affordable housing, bar none. That is the primary cause. The secondary cause is a lack of employment, underemployment, lack of living wage, all of those things. Those two go hand in hand. Not only is the housing not affordable, but you can't get a job to afford the housing that exists. The final is probably health care. We've all heard about this recently. All across this country and in this city, we have lost exponential number of affordable housing units. The federal government defines affordable as that a given household pays no more than 30% of their monthly income in housing alone. Most folks before the economic crisis, most folks below the federal poverty line were paying 45% or more of their monthly income in housing. That does not include things like utilities, things like gas, like bus tickets. It does not include those sorts of things, just simply rent, mortgage, 45%. So in this city, over the last 30 years, and specifically in the downtown, the central business district, and over the Rhine, we have lost literally thousands of units of affordable housing. Because housing is so important to the future of individual lives and the future of people as a system, this is one of our major issues. I want to point out, for those of us that were here this morning, the conversation that took place at this table and so forth was not surprising. I have been in so many meetings where the same conversation took place, and the commonality between those meetings is And Peter pointed this out a minute ago, actually.